What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Draymond Green Show. On today's show, obviously, have to talk about, unfortunately, a couple bad losses. Then we'll get around the association a bit, as we always do. Talk some of the other teams that I've been locked in on, some of the other teams that I've kind of heard about and have not seen a bunch of. And then finally, we'll have another Golden Days segment. Lots of great feedback on that one, so I'm excited to do more of those. Let's get right into it. Before getting into what went wrong with our team in those two games, number one, let's just move into like the feeling of coming out of that. You come out of a road trip like that where, like, let's face it, you probably should go 2-0. Let's face it, you go into it thinking and believing you're going 2-0. And it's the complete opposite. You go 0-2. How do you come out of that? How do you bounce back from that? And the reality is, it's one of those feelings of like, you kind of try to throw it down the drain, just completely get rid of it. But it's one of those ones that like it keeps biting at you, like it eats at you and it eats at you, and before you know it, you're on like a 4-hour and 15-minute flight back, and you go 30 minutes and everybody's just chilling. And then you get Steph kind of picking at the game, and like making a sly joke about something that's going on at the card table and mixing it in with the game. And then you kind of move on, and before you know it, Jimmy's kind of throwing something out there and speaking about the game. And that's kind of what it is. And we always say the lucky thing about the NBA, you got another game tomorrow. And this one of the rare times that we got 2 days in between games. And when you play those bad games like that, you really just want to get back on the court. Like, you want to get back on the court and make it right. Steve kind of implemented this thing for years where we break our season down into weeks and win in the week. And we start off with 2-0 with a great opportunity to win the week. And you tie the week, like those are the ones that, like, when you get down the road in the end, you start to look back on those like, man, if we just didn't blow this one, if we just didn't blow that one, you start to look back on those. When you tie weeks that you're really supposed to win, you're then trying to make up that ground, and so you head into kind of that next week, and it's not that you add pressure on yourself that the week is more important than it should be, or more important than it really is. But the fact of the matter is, we're still 7 games in, which is technically still considered the start, which means you still want to get off to a good start. And so I think for us, you don't add pressure of like, oh man, this week is far more important than the last one were. But like I said, you just want to get that nasty taste out your mouth, and you just want to get back on the right track. Another thing we always talk about is in the NBA, 1 week you're feeling great and feel like you got a chance, and the next week everything come crashing down and you feel like you're rebuilding again. That's just the nature of the season that we're in. So here it is. We sit here at 4-3, losing a couple games that we shouldn't have. And, you look at these games, I mean, let's face it, Giannis was out of the first game. You got everybody out on Indiana's team. You got Tyrese Halliburton out, Ben Mathurin out, TJ McConnell out, Obi Toppin out, Andrew Nembhard out. And honestly, I feel like those are the toughest games for us. It's one of those things of like, you say like, yo, not let your guard down. But I think for us, you got so accustomed to playing against like the great teams and the bad teams. And you just know what comes with both of those. And for us, it's like when the star go out, anytime a star go out against us, you're always going to have guys that step up and just play out of their minds. Like, that is the Warrior effect. That is the effect that you get when you've had the success that we've had. You figure a lot of these young guys that come into the NBA now, they grew up on the success that we've had. So when they come into that game, it's like it's their NBA finals. It's like it's their childhood dream come true. And so you always get like the absolute best version of guys. No excuse of why we lose those games. But then I think for us, where we have to grow is you have to put the fire out before it even gets started. We come into these games and all of a sudden you let a guy hit a three that he probably shouldn't get an open look at. You let a guy get a couple easy buckets. And in this league, everybody can play. So all of a sudden, you let a guy see two easy ones go in. Now you got a fire to put out. You got a problem to deal with now. And I feel like that's kind of where we end up at. You're talking a team that was 0-5, 0-6, and we got the game in complete control. And then just down the stretch, just let it go. Like that's not been a characteristic of this team since Jimmy has come over to the team. But that was something we were struggling with before. And so we can't fall back into that. And I think that's the most important thing. You're getting these guards going off on us that aren't quite premier guards in the NBA. It's not just a guard issue. It's a full team issue. They're getting in our paint. They're breaking us down. Everyone has to step up to that challenge. Yes, our guards have to step up to the challenge, of course. But that's a complete team issue. It's not just a guard issue. It's on all of us. And so that's something that we have to figure out. It's not like that. This won't be the last time it happened. This NBA season is 82 games. Guys are going to miss some games. And you still have to go out, win the game, and take care of the games that you're supposed to win. And we just did not do that this week. You look at a Ryan Rollins, young fella who obviously was drafted by the Golden State Warriors, come out and score career-high 32 points. And Ryan's game, I'll actually say, like in playing, it was beautiful. Like the pace that he played with, he never got sped up. He never got rattled. Steph was coming off, obviously, Ryan's my young fella, played with the family, but also obviously was drafted to Golden State Warriors, as I said, from the state of Michigan, from Detroit. Steph was about to fake like he was going down the floor and then about to come off a screen, and Ryan just kind of leveled him. And so I saw it, and I was like, okay. So the next play down, Ryan drives in the lane, and I come all the way off the corner and just like shoulder him. They call a foul, they take it on the side. The next play down the court, he's picking up full. I come with a screen, and I whack him. And funny, I told Ryan, I said, we were standing at the free throw line talking. I said, I told you I was going to get you. He was like, yeah, but you know how I'm cut. So I ain't backing down from none of that. I said, I know. I didn't expect you to back down. I said, what you should also know is that if I ain't love you, I would have laid you out there. But I just needed to get a good screen on you so you felt it. But I could have and probably should have laid you out there, but I wouldn't dare do that to my young fella. And his commentary back was so good. And I told him after the game, I said, man, you look great. I said, I also was trying to rattle you, and you just stayed poised. You stayed the course. And you'd be surprised at how many guys, once you do that, once you go there, just go by the wayside. And he just stayed the course, kept having the game, made another big shot, made 2 or 3 more big shots. And it was beautiful to see. You're talking to a guy who hasn't had the easiest path, has found a home. And I don't think, he won't average 32 points, or he won't be getting 30 every night or every other night. But I think he's found a home, and I think he'll be able to consistently play well there, which would be great for him. And it'll be great for Milwaukee. So next night you get Quentin Jackson. We were sitting at the table, Trav and I, trying to figure out who Indiana's starting point guard was. And you get young Quentin Jackson come out, had a game in his life, had 27. Again, these guys, it's the opportunity to play against Steph. It's the opportunity to play against, for most of these guys, their hero. Of course they're getting up. Like it's a free swing. And so you got to get a young fella some credit. Got to get them some credit to step up to that challenge the way they did. But for us, I think the most alarming thing was like we had turnovers in games that we shouldn't have turnovers in. We had a bunch of turnovers against Milwaukee. It wasn't like that team was pressuring. We just kind of had a bunch of turnovers. I think for us, offensively, we got to figure it out. We got to figure our spacing out. We got to figure the turnovers out. Like the turnovers are adding up more and more each game, and they're costly. It's hard. We got a really good defense. It's hard to get your defense set when you just turn the ball over. They're not having to play against our half-court defense. That allows, again, you get back to the theme of like guys getting off. That allows guys to get a rhythm, get to feeling good. And so we also got to cut that out. Like I remember the old Spurs team, they just used to never beat themselves. So it was never going to be a game where you like, man, they beat themselves. No, they're going to play solid, steady, and you're going to have to beat them. And I feel like we're not quite getting that. And so that's what we must move into. That's the area where we must grow. And in order to do that, we got to figure out what we're doing offensively. Down the stretch, what are we getting to? I think some of them, we got good looks and we just didn't make them. But how do you get to that position in a game where I think we control pretty much majority of the game? How do you end up in that position? And that's what we have to figure out. And we'll bounce back from it. It's a big week coming up for us. We got Phoenix this week. Then we go on a back-to-back to Sac. Then we got Denver. And so it's a big week. And make no mistake about it, we understand that. We got to come out, win the week. We let one get away. Got to go take one, even if it's one that you're not supposed to take. Got to go take one because then the following week's a tough week again. You go to OKC, you go to San Antonio, head down to New Orleans, then Florida, Orlando, Miami, right? So it's going to be a tough week again, and that's just the NBA. So you got to take care of the ones that you're supposed to take care of, and we have not done that, so you got to go win some that you're not supposed to win. That's kind of the state of Dub Nation. That's where we are. Coming up next, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, I've got a lot of other topics around the NBA that I want to get into with y'all before we get out of here. As promised, we'll move around the association now. Welcome back. First, and obviously one of the most obvious topics, one of the hottest topics in the game, one of the topics that got everybody like, what the hell is going on, is Ja's comments and his suspension. Ja's comments initially was, I don't know, go ask the coaching staff when the media was asking him about his performance. And he said something along the lines of, if it was up to them, maybe I wouldn't play, or something along those lines. And when I saw his comments, I found those interesting, but all they did was confirm to me what I was watching. When we got on that plane, I was telling Steph, like, man, Ja ain't in it at all. Like, it looked like something happened. Like, Ja, it ain't Ja. Like, he was giving the ball to Cam Spencer and kind of going to stand in the corner. So you could tell. And Steph was like, huh, quiet protest going on, huh? And I was like, that's what it looked like. And then obviously after the game, we saw the comments. I was like, yep. And rightfully so, there was something going on. What I will say is this. I am not a big fan of suspending your top guys as a guy who's been suspended through the years. I don't think it does much of anything outside of piss the guys off. And so when you're talking your first and most important player and you're suspending that guy, like, there's always the possibility of, like, there's no coming back from that. And so when you see this leaves you in a space of, is this the beginning of the end? And it takes you back to Taylor Jenkins getting fired and them hiring just bumping the assistant coach up. It takes you back to that, and you wonder, was that the beginning of the end? Because for them to fire Taylor Jenkins when they did, I think it was game 73 or something like that, and they were in playoff position whenever they did it. It was late in the season. When you looked at their team, Jaren, Ja, and those guys, I think they rocked with Taylor Jenkins. I truly in my heart believe that they rocked with Taylor Jenkins. So at least that's what it appeared as. And if that's the case and you just up and fire him, you're almost signaling to Ja and possibly Jaren that you really don't give a damn what they think about who's coaching them. And so that right there would definitely be the beginning of the end. And so it really takes me back to that moment. And so when I look at this suspension, I say, okay, they didn't hire an assistant coach who I'm almost certain that Ja didn't really sign off on. But they're showing you they don't care what you think. And usually when they show stars that they don't care what you think, the next move is usually you. And you have to wonder if that's what's brewing in Memphis. You have to wonder if Ja Morant finishes this year in Memphis. Because now the fire that you're playing with is now how does Ja return from that suspension? Like, does Ja come out thrilled and excited to be back with his teammates? Or does Ja take an opposite approach and just go out there and be not engaged? In the words of Marshawn Lynch, being there so he don't get fined. Will that be because again, once the suspension happens, then there's a level of trust that's broken. Because also now you're taking money out of my pockets. And so there's a level of trust that's broken once the suspensions start being levied. And so, again, you have to ask yourself the question of what's next if the trust is being broken. You already don't know what the trust was before. But whatever it was, if it was good, it's gone down. If it was bad, it's gone from bad to worse with a suspension. And so I'm aware that Ja Morant doesn't have an agent. And, I'm not one to sit and judge somebody's business or what they do, or criticize their business of what they do, because I don't know what his entire setup is. But I say this more so for the masses to understand the business. When you say guys don't need an agent and you start to have situations like this, it's where agents become very important outside of just contract negotiations. Because if this gets to a situation of, man, Ja needs to be traded, you need an agent with some muscle to make sure Ja gets traded to a situation that's beneficial for Ja and not just beneficial for Memphis. And if you don't have an agent with muscle that they never have to deal with again, they have no reason to honor the player. Not just Ja. We're speaking of Ja in this situation, but not just Ja. They have no reason to honor the player or, look out for the player's best interest. That's where the agents really, really make their commission. This is where you need the agent behind the scenes working the relationships, seeing if this is fixable, making calls to other teams, seeing what teams may be interested in Ja and where they may need to push to. This is where agents become important. So I say to the young guys out there, just always be aware of these situations. Again, not that Ja's situation won't turn out to be the best for him, but I'm just speaking from an overall standpoint. Young guys, pay attention. This is why you need agents. When everybody say, oh man, I'm gonna save this percent on, like, that's cool and I get it. But then there become situations within the situation. And when I say within the situation, I mean while you're on that contract that agent did. and you're like, man, all they doing is a contract. I'm here to tell you, if you got an agent that all you think they do is the contract, you need to fire them fast. They're terrible. That's not all they do. It's not all they should be doing. So I just want to point that out to the young fellas out there, like, just understand your business and everything that goes into it and what should be handled and what should be done and knowing the importance of certain positions. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out with Ja. I'm not allowed to say what I think will play out from this because I'll probably get fined and I don't want to get fined. But it will be interesting. Also around the association, we got the Bulls. And the question to me is what the Bulls doing cute, or are you starting to pay attention? And I must say, very honorable what they're doing. I thought they'd honestly be one of the worst teams in the NBA this year. They possibly still could end up being one of the worst teams in the NBA. I think you start to pay attention and you're like, man, they're having a good year. But the jury's still out. I think, when I look at the makeup of their roster, they'll run into some troubles at some point just with go-to scoring and all of those things, but they play hard. And when you play hard in this league, you can win games. And they're playing hard. They're playing together. That will win you games in this league. At a certain point, the talent level does catch up. When that will be, it varies. Sometimes it comes in the regular season. Sometimes you get to the playoffs and get mopped because they caught up. It varies when it catches up. But for the Bulls, I will say, I'm not paying a ton of attention. I pay attention to the NBA, so I see what's going on. But I don't see the start and be like, oh, man, they're a contender. I don't quite see that. But they play hard, and they're going to give a lot of people tough games all year. In saying that, I think the question that begs is, at what point of the season do you start to kind of make your assumption on teams? And is that at the trade deadline? Is that far before the trade deadline? What is it? And I think I'll say it varies from team to team because some teams you got like just getting through the season to get through the playoffs, right? Like it varies from team to team. All regular seasons aren't created equal. And so, which means all the focus levels aren't created equal. The competition level isn't created equal. That's just the nature of the business that we're in. I think it's very important for each team to understand where they are in their journey and how their regular season must go. And so I don't think you necessarily go to the trade deadline and by that point it's a little late, and you're still figuring out like, man, can this team contend? Can they not? What do you think if they can add something at the trade deadline? What do they need to add? How does this team get better at the deadline? Buyout market, right? Like you really start to understand more things come into shape there, but you kind of already know the teams that's going to make a run for it. And you know that, like I said, with some teams, you know that right away. Like, OKC's making a run for it, right? And then some teams, a month or two in, you're like, man, they're quietly putting it together. They're getting better. They're gelling in this way. They're showing more growth in these areas, And then you see some teams where you're like, yeah, they had it last year, but now teams have scouted them all summer, and all of a sudden that new offense that they were running last year don't look so good. Like you run into a bunch of that as well. And so far before the trade deadline, you kind of know, but teams can bolster, their chances during the trade deadline. And I think that's what you can kind of see a lot of, like us. Last year we were kind of on life support at the trade deadline, and then we made the trade for Jimmy, and it changed everything. So, but also during the beginning of the season, everybody thought we had a chance. We got off to a great start. And so it varies. And in saying that, I say again, all regular seasons aren't created equal. Another thing around the association that we must speak on that we haven't spoke a ton on is Austin Reaves. Man, Austin Reaves is having an incredible year. He done had a 50 ball. He done had a 40 ball. close to triple-doubles, if not a triple-double. I saw tonight he had 20-plus and 10 assists. I mean, he's playing incredible basketball and obviously in line for a huge payday come next summer. But I think the thing that I would point out most is he played that basketball when Luka was out. Obviously, Bron's been out the whole season. He's playing that basketball when Luka's there. But even more importantly, they're winning games. And so it's not like Austin Reaves is playing great basketball and getting his number and they're losing games. They're winning games. And so you got to give Austin Reaves a lot of credit, man. He continued to play at the level that he's playing at. He should be in conversation for everything. All-star, big-time payday, like you name it. He's been improving every year. So I don't really know if most improve is in line, but he's playing some elite basketball. And I take my hat off to Austin Reaves, just continuing to improve the way he's improving. From the time that he stepped into this league, he's just gotten better and better and better. And he's becoming one of the guys in this league, a tough matchup for everybody. The shot-making ability is incredible. He's getting it at all three levels, mid-range, finishing at the rim, shooting the three, and then also getting to the foul line. So, you know, the mixture of the offensive pot that he's cooking up, it's not just like, oh, man, you take the three away, he done. Like, he's doing it at every level. And if you look at the great scorers around this league, they do it at every level. So be interesting to continue to watch as he continues to go. But since JJ's become his coach, honestly, JJ's infused a ton of confidence in Austin Reaves, and he continues to grow and show and improve up on that. So I take my hat off to him. And it'll be interesting, like I said, to see where he continues to go as this season develops. And lastly, before we get out of here, moving around the association, I think when I look around the association, what teams do I see that I think a lot of people aren't paying attention to, but ultimately can be really good? And I would say one is the Portland Trailblazers. Portland is a tough, tough game. They got a bunch of length, switchable guys. Defensively, they all 6'7", 6'8", can move their feet, can guard positions 1 through 5, can knock down a shot. Drew Holiday's leadership is proven to be invaluable for this team. They got centers. They got wings. They got young scoring wings that can go get it. They got defenders. They got a true point guard in Drew Holiday. Like, that team, I would say, is the young team that I think a lot of people aren't looking out for, that I think is going to have a good year. And I think Ant-Man said it best in his press conference earlier this year. He said, you think you have an off night in Portland? Not no more. You better bring it. Them guys picking up 40. Ant-Man said it best. So I would say the young team that I'm looking at that I think isn't getting a ton of attention is Portland. Watch out for Portland. They can put together a good year this year. As promised, we will go through the golden days, the stories behind the moments that built the dynasty. Email your favorite Warriors memories from the last 14 years to DraymondGreen@Odyssey.com. And I'll break down what I remember about the moment, what you may not have seen, and what it means to me now. We apologize that the email wasn't working on the last episode, but it is now. So check out DraymondGreen@Odyssey.com. Leave your moments, and we will get to that. Today's email comes in from Shaz, who writes in, the moment or the first game you were given the starting job over David Lee. Man, that moment, wow. You want to know the moment that was the key to the rest of my life as it is today. I remember that moment like it was yesterday. We were on the court, and we were at our old practice facility in Oakland. And when you walked in, there were 2 full courts, and there was like a court in the middle that you could like get shots up on the 2 rims and do some stuff if you needed to, but it wasn't full size. And we were on the far, far court. And Steve said, all right, starters out. We were going to walk through some plays. It was shoot around. And he was like, starters out. And I knew D. Lee was coming back that day, that game. And so I walked off the floor. And he was like, no. The way we've been starting. And I was like, oh, man, I think we were like 12-1 or 14-1 or something like that when he came back. And I was starting. And I was like, oh, man, like, am I really about to be starting still? I couldn't believe it. And so I walked back on the court. And the rest was history. Like, it didn't get testy with Steven and D. Lee, but there was definitely a moment where D. Lee made a joke and Steve said something back to D. Lee along the lines like, oh, are you playing tonight? And he was like, yeah, I'm playing. He was like, all right then. Like, and D. Lee was like, oh, okay. Like, and there was just a little moment there of like tension. And I was like, I'm still in year 3. I'm like, oh shit, D. Lee, all-star D. Lee, big dog. By the way, the way D. Lee handled it and embraced me, I'll forever be indebted to him. It was no ill will. He continued to help me. Every starter point power forward that I had to face that he's been facing for years, he would give me the rundown on like, yo, you do this. These guys don't like that. Like, he would give me the rundown on like how to face these guys. And so he was always locked in with me. And still love D. Lee. That's my dog, one of my vets. That love will never go away. But I'm forever grateful. But I remember that moment getting a little testy, not crazy, but a little testy between him and Steve. And honestly, it was a natural moment. Like, you're talking to a guy who's been starting in the NBA for 11 years, all-star just a year ago, and you're kind of telling him he's going to come off the bench now. Of course he's going to have a little bit of moment. Highest paid player on our team at the time. Like, I was making $850,000. And you saying you're going to start me? Wow. I couldn't believe it. But yet, I think that day was where it all started. The year is 2015, and I'm now a starter. And it's now me in my 3rd year, Clay in his 4th year, Steph in his 6th year. And it's this young 3 guys with a bunch of veteran leaders, and we're out there running wild, and our veteran leaders keeping things calm and keeping things steady while we just run wild and do what we're doing and create the magic that we created. It all started there. It all started with Steve Kerr having the nuts to make a call like that to bring your highest paid player off the bench and say, we're going to start this way because we think it's better for us. Most coaches won't have the nuts to do that. Steve Kerr did. And so that moment for me, it's one I'll never forget. Because I wish I had video. I wish it was today where there's cameras in the arena or cameras in the practice facility that you don't even know is there, no pun intended. Because I wish you all could see when Steve said starters on how fast I just walked right off the floor. Because I knew, like, oh, D-Lee's back, I'm out. Like, I've done what I had to do, I'm out. And, like, the feeling I had within when he said, no, we're going to start the way we've been starting. The feeling I had within, I don't think I could ever. It was one of those ones of like, you're so excited, you're ecstatic, but yet this is also him telling your OG that he coming off the court. You can't show the excitement. So it's one of those ones that on the inside, you're going crazy, like, hell yeah, oh my God, like this is nuts. But on the outside, the face is straight as hell like this. Walking to the spot to line up. But on the inside, it's like, wow, I'm about to start? Like for real start? And I'd be remiss if I didn't share the moment when I said, like, you're jumping for joy inside. You're going crazy on the inside. You're stoic as hell on the outside. The moment I got out of that facility, I don't think I made it all the way to my car. I'm walking up the pavement on the way to my car, and I called my mom right away, like, Mom, you never believe I'm starting tonight. Like, David Lee back, I'm still starting. And she was like, what? Get out of here. No, you're not. And I'm like, Mom, I swear I'm starting. This just happened. Steve called for starters. I walked off the court. D. Lee walked on the court. Steve said, no, we starting the way we've been starting. Mom, I'm really starting. Like, I got the spot. I'm starting. And she's on the phone yelling, going crazy. Oh, my God. Like, wow. Like, and we shared that moment. And then, like I said, the rest is history. But I'll never forget calling her and, like, her screaming on the other end of the phone as if I just got drafted into the NBA or something. What a moment. And Shaz, I thank you for bringing that moment back to me and allowing me to go dive deep into that moment. Because that is the moment that changed my life forever. The day I became a starter in the NBA. Changed my life forever. So that was one of the biggest moments in my career. And it's crazy because when it happened, you don't know it's one of the biggest moments. But as I look back on that moment 11 years later, undoubtedly one of the biggest moments of my life. Changed my life forever. That day. So I appreciate you, Shaz. I hope you all enjoyed that Golden Days moment as much as I just enjoyed that Golden Days moment. I look forward to the next Golden Days. Again, make sure you send your memories to Draymond Green at Odyssey.com so that I can share those memories and relive those moments with you. Until next time, I want to thank you all again for tuning in to the Draymond Green Show. We've got a big week coming up. Got to reset, got to lock back in, get back on the track. Obviously, all the noise will be, oh, man, they can't contend. We knew they couldn't contend. Look, they dropped those games. That's just the NBA season. That's what happened. But I'll see you guys again Thursday, and hopefully some things will be a little different. Deuces. If you're rocking with the Draymond Green Show, be sure to click follow on your favorite podcast app. And while you're there, go ahead and drop a 5-star rating and leave a review. I want to hear what you think, and it would also mean a ton to me if you share it with a friend that you think would enjoy it. Let's keep this thing growing. The Draymond Green Show is presented by Odyssey and executive produced in conjunction with the New Media. Our executive producers are Leah Reese-Dennis, Danny Friesinger, and Greg Holtzman. Video production and creative design by Kurt Courtney, Tim Meikle, Lauren Vieira, and Evan O'Brien. Special thanks to the team at the New Media and the team at Odyssey. Maura Curran, Josephina Francis, Hillary Schuff, Eric Donnelly, Kate Rose, Colin Gaynor, and Jake Galley.